Hello, we are going to go ahead and start with some doodling. Before we do that though, I just want to kind of talk about reasons why we might want to do this, about what our why is or what our target is. So doodling is a great stress relief. We've talked about that a little bit in class. And so, one of the big whys here is that it can help us kind of chill out a little bit and maybe be a little bit self-reflective instead of having to worry about all the things that are going on in the world. So that's one of the big whys. Another one is that it can be a focusing tool. So if you are listening to a lecture or trying to concentrate on something, there have been studies done that indicate that a little bit of doodling, especially where you're not really thinking about the end goal, can actually be really super beneficial. So I'm going to kind of show you two ways that you can start with a doodle. And obviously there's the whole Zentangle method, which is a very kind of, it's a copyrighted process that you can go through. What we're going to do here is a little bit less formal. I've been doodling since, well, frankly, since I was a little kid, and I'm guessing that some of you guys, that's been the same for you. And it's just kind of something we started doing, and we didn't really think too much about it, and we just did it. And really, in a nutshell, that's what doodling is. We're not really thinking, we're just doing. And in terms of skill acquisition and being able to get better at drawing, the more that you do something, the better you're going to get. So even though this doodling may seem very simple, you're building some fine motor skills that are going to help you down the line. So to go ahead and start off, we're going to need either, our pencil and then a pen of some kind. And I'm going to use the black Sharpie. Now the reason why we have the pencil is just to kind of give ourselves kind of a starting place that we can easily erase if we want to. If you feel like you need to just jump right in with the pen, that's fine as well. There's two different ways that you can kind of jump in. One is by starting off with kind of a focal shape or a starting shape, and it could be something as simple as a circle or a rectangle. You can also start off with a frame, and that's actually the one I'm going to do first, where you start off with an outline of something and then add things inside of it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just draw it with the pencil first. And you'll notice that it's really going to be very light. In fact, I'm not even sure that you can see it, maybe a little bit. And I am drawing, in this case, it's like a 3.5 inch, maybe 4 inch, maybe a little bit smaller than that, square. And it's good to go light so that you don't actually make an indent into the paper, because that could impact how you doodle. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead, and my second step is I'm going to put some sort of focal point. Now I know your first instinct might be to put something in the middle. You don't have to do that though, right? It could be anywhere. So actually what I'm going to do is I am going to start with a little teardrop shape up in the top left corner. Now if that feels like something you want to do too, absolutely, you can go ahead and do it. And at this point I'm going to go ahead, put the pencil down, and pick my pen up. Now you can start with either end of the pen. I think I'm going to kind of make the border a little bit thicker. I personally prefer fine points. And in fact, in my own artwork, I don't usually use the Sharpie. One, just because it's not super archival. It's not going to last for, 20 or 30 years. Eventually it will fade, even though it's permanent. And two, there's just, not a lot of control over the size. There's the thin and then there's the thick. There's not a ton in between. If you can, if you're super into drawing and you want to invest in it, I really like the microns. So those are really awesome. And Copic, which has the famous alcohol markers, they also have multi-liners, which are really pretty high quality. Okay, so I've done a thick line just for my border, and then really I'm going to switch over to this finer tip. I like to build up layers of lines and make thin lines thicker. That gives me a little bit more control, and it kind of feeds into that meditative process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start off with outlining my teardrop shape, and then I'm going to start pretty simple here. Okay, so I can either, it's kind of whatever calls to you. I have a couple of patterns that I like that are my go-tos, a couple of shapes that I can kind of turn into a pattern. So I'm going to start with circles, because circles are fairly straightforward. They do not have to be perfect circles. So if you have tried to draw perfect circles and you're like, I can't do it, that's fine. And I will find that sometimes if I kind of do a circular motion a couple times around, so do like a whole 360, I can end up with something that looks like closer to a perfect circle. But you'll see here, if you're looking at mine here, they're not necessarily perfect. These are all sort of more or less the same size. One thing that we can do that's going to help create rhythm and movement is we can change the size. So we can have some variety in the size. So I'm going to put some circles that are bigger and some circles that are smaller. And these are kind of my bubbles. This is personally my kind of go-to. If I'm just starting off, I will often just start off with a bunch of circles and then just see where it takes me. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up and then start the next one so you can kind of move at your own pace. For the next one, I'm not going to talk necessarily. I'm going to just go ahead and doodle, because part of the whole meditative process, right, is just doing, not necessarily thinking. So I just kind of want you to see what my process is when I'm just doing doodling for doodling's sake. So see you soon.